Hello everyone, this is ANURADHA Sharma and you're watching my channel IELTS with ANURADHA.
Part 1.
You'll hear a telephone conversation between a customer and the receptionist at a courier company. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 8.
Good afternoon, this is ROURKE'S Courier Service. Pat speaking. How can I help you?
Hello, Pat. My name's Joanne, and I would like to courier a package, if I may.
You may certainly, Joanne. What's your surname, please?
It's Jefferson with one F. That's Jefferson.
Thank you, Joanne. Now, could you tell me the address where the package will be collected from?
Yes, it's my home address, so that's 22 Blue Lane Close, Old Malden, Surrey, KPT 530.
Very good.
I guess you also need the recipient's details.
Quite right. Let's start with the name.
It's Michael Moriarty, that's Muriarty.
And the address, please?
Michael lives on Birkdale Road at number 97. That's in Ashford, Kent.
Excellent. And have you got Mike's postcode handy?
Yeah, it's K29ZY8.
I'll just repeat that. KT9SY8.
Sorry, that's a Z, not an S. Got it?
Got it. Do you have a daytime contact number for Michael?
I certainly do. It's 011-876 99671.
And when do you want your package delivered, Joanne?
This Friday, the 22nd of May, if possible.
No problem. Is there a particular time of day we should make the delivery at?
Well, not really. Michael's self-employed, you see, and he works from home. I guess you can deliver at any time, though I think he'd prefer the evening, as he tends to be very busy during the day.
Evening delivery. Now, one last thing. Can you tell me what the package will contain?
There's a silver photo frame and a man's watch. Together they're worth about £200.
Super. And are you sending the package because birthday or something, is it?
Actually, it's a gift for his wedding anniversary. His wife and he have been married for 50 years. Can you believe it?
That's impressive. Hope I'm as lucky.
I assume you accept plastic.
We take all major credit cards as well as bank drafts and cheques.
Excellent. I'll give you my card details now then, shall I?
Not necessary. We don't charge in advance. You should give them to the courier in person on the day.
Gotcha.
Before listening to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 9 to 10.
Now, delivery will cost you £50, but I can recommend something.
Of course.
If I were you, I'd take out our goods in transit insurance as your package is quite valuable.
Isn't that included in the price then?
No, you're only covered for theft, but not for accidental loss.
Surely you're responsible if the product gets mislaid.
Not since the recent change in legislation. Customers are now required to take out an additional insurance to cover this risk.
That's ridiculous. So I pay £50 and have to cough up more money if I want to make sure my package doesn't get misplaced? What am I paying you for?
I'm sorry, Joanne. I wish I could change the situation, but I can't.
How much is this insurance then?
£2.
Ah, well, why didn't you say so? In that case, I'll take it.
Great. Well, that should be everything for the moment, Joanne. We'll give you a call, let you know we're coming.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheerio then.
That is the end of Part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2.
You will hear a man talking about 28-day tours that his company organizes for students. Before you listen, you have 30 seconds to read questions 11 to 15.
Welcome to Go16, the adventure tour company for high school students. I've met some of you young people before our last meeting, and I'm glad your parents could make it tonight. Let's get started. You probably know that our company takes students aged 16 to 18 to around 40 destinations worldwide. Our maximum group size is 14, and we're away for 28 days. We usually go in the long summer vacation, but a couple of groups go in winter. Last year, Go16 groups visited China, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Peru. Sorry, not Indonesia, Malaysia. And this year, we're adding Ukraine. That'll be a winter trip because Kiev is gorgeous in the snow, but the climate brings additional challenges. But what you may not know is that Go16 is no ordinary business. We're as concerned about social responsibility as traveling. Of course, we go to beaches and restaurants like ordinary tourists, but every Go16 tour must include 3 things. Firstly, students learn some of the local language through a 10-day stay with a family. Then, they go on a trek. In Peru, we climb for 3 days in the mountains up to Machu Picchu. It's fantastic. Lastly, Go16 students volunteer for 2 weeks for a community organization.
Before you listen to the rest of the talk, you have 30 seconds to read questions 16 to 20.
While I'm on this topic of volunteering, our Go16 group in China in 2009 took part in an environmental project to prevent the desert spreading. Our students saw the Great Wall and the Forbidden City in Beijing first. Then they flew 3,000 kilometers west to Kashgar. They assisted scientists from a well-known research institute with laying plastic netting in the Taklamakan Desert. Over time, seeds are caught in this netting, and eventually plants grow to create a barrier against sand. In 2012, another Go16 group went to see the progress, and they were amazed. Grasses, bushes, and even trees had grown that stopped the desert spreading. I can hear your mothers thinking, laying plastic netting in the Chinese desert? That doesn't sound safe or educational. Why would my child be doing that? As to the safety, Go16 has very good insurance. All our staff is bilingual and familiar with local conditions. Furthermore, we follow New York State health and safety regulations in every country we're in. Concerning the educational value of the Desert Project, I think all of those Go16 students got straight A's in biology and geography back home. Perhaps you're wondering, what does all this cost? Go16 has 2 packages which you can read about in the brochure I'll pass round. Since the kids raise some of the money themselves, it's less expensive than you might think. As I said before, we've added Ukraine this year. We chose this country because the history of Eastern Europe is now part of the school curriculum. Some of you here tonight might be studying the communist period and the breakup of the former Soviet Union. Many Americans also have family members from there. Lastly, I was born in Kiev, the capital, so I'm Ukrainian American. I can give a special insight into the country and culture. Now, I said earlier that Ukraine is lovely in winter. However, some of the community projects Go16 will be involved with are connected to AIDS and drug use. These may be challenging for teenagers. In my opinion, the world is a complex place, and understanding complexity is an important part of education. Of course, Go16's tours are fun. Trekking is fantastic fun, but they're also about personal development and understanding our ever-changing world. Now it's your turn. Any questions?
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
Part 3.
You hear a discussion between a couple and a real estate agent. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25.
Now, this first property I'm going to show you will be ready for letting in about 2 weeks. It's on the market for £1,500 per calendar month, but the landlord is open to offers. If after the viewing you think you might be interested, might I suggest that you make an offer, however, as a property like this won't stay on the market for very long?
My first impressions are good, I have to say. I like the location. It seems to be a quiet residential area, and the proximity to the common is advantageous, as we like to go for walks together in the evening. What do you think, Becca?
It does look rather impressive, Nick.
Let's go inside, shall we? Now, as you can see, the front door opens into this lovely, spacious reception room where you can welcome guests. Let me lead you into the kitchen area, which is just through here.
I know I've asked you this already, but I just want to make sure that the furniture stays, correct?
Yes, everything you see here will remain on the property. The only things the landlord is taking with him are his television and DVD player.
Why is he vacating such a lovely flat as this?
He and his wife have just had their first child, and they felt it was time to look for somewhere more spacious which can accommodate a family more comfortably. They've just purchased a 3-bed house in one of the city's suburbs, but they were eager to hold on to this property too, which is why they've decided to let it out. They now look at their old home as an investment proposition.
Very sensible. The size of the kitchen is something I have a little bit of an issue with, though. After all, while there are plenty of counters and workspaces, there isn't a kitchen table or anywhere to eat.
True, but come through here and you'll find a very generous dining area.
Wow, this is roomy. We could definitely entertain here, Nick. Do you mind if we view the bedroom and bathroom next?
Of course. This way. Here's the master bedroom. There's a small room off to the side there that could arguably be used as a second bedroom, but I think the lack of space makes it better suited to acting as an office. Your ensuite bathroom is through here.
It looks very modern. Has it been recently decorated?
Better than that. In fact, the bathroom is completely new. It was only fitted last week. The house has also been given a professional clean, and all of the rooms were redecorated after the landlord moved out.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30.
You can probably tell we like it.
I'm glad to hear.
But now let's get down to business. It's on the market at 1,500, you said, right?
Right.
Well, realistically, what do you think the landlord would be willing to accept?
I would say offers over 1,400.
Well, I'm not prepared to offer that. I'll make an initial offer of 1,200, and if that is rejected, I may consider upping my offer by £100, but that's as high as I'll go.
As you wish. You are happy with an initial contract of 12 months, I presume?
Yes, assuming there's a break clause after 6.
That's no problem. The standard contract allows you to give 2 months' notice that you will vacate the flat from the 4th month onwards, effectively. You can vacate any time after the 6th month, provided you give the proper notice in advance.
All sounds good. So, what happens next?
I will put your offer to the landlord, and if he accepts it, you'll be asked to put down a holding deposit of £500 to take the property off the market. Then, assuming your reference and credit checks come back okay, we can sign the letting agreement and get you moved in. Before you sign the contract, though, on top of the £500 holding deposit, you will have to put down a further 4 weeks' rent in payment of the full bond deposit, as well as fronting up your first month's rent in advance.
What about your fees?
We charge £120 per person to cover our administrative costs and reference checking. So times that by 2, and that's what you'll have to pay me.
OK, well, thank you. We'll need a couple of hours to think it over, but we'll give you a call as soon as we decide one way or the other.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4.
You will hear a lecture about an island near Antarctica called Macquarie Island. Before you listen, to read questions 31 to 40.
Good morning. Today's lecture is on Macquarie Island. We'll be using this island for our next assignment, in which I'd like you to write a practice proposal for a research grant there. Macquarie Island is halfway between the Australian mainland and Antarctica. To be precise, it's 1,500 kilometres south-southeast of Tasmania. It's quite a small island, only 128 square kilometres, but its geological value is immense. In 1997, it was made a UNESCO World Heritage Site for this reason. Macquarie Island is the only place on Earth where rocks from the mantle are exposed above sea level. Macquarie Ridge, which the island is part of, is right between 2 tectonic plates, the Indo-Australian and the Pacific. As you may imagine, earthquakes are common. One in 2004 registered 8.1 on the Richter scale. Luckily, there was no loss of human life. Discovered by Frederick Hasselburgh in 1810, Macquarie Island was named after the Governor of New South Wales, a British colony which is now an Australian state. Hasselburgh was looking for seals to kill. In those days, seal skin and blubber, or fat, were in great demand. They were used around the world for clothing and heating. It was Hasselborough's lucky day when he found Macquarie Island, since there were possibly 1 million animals there. Hasselborough and his men slaughtered as many seals as possible, boiled down their blubber, and shipped it back to Australia. This industry continued for over a century. Both the seals and penguins were very nearly made extinct. After sealing ended, Macquarie Island became a nature reserve and a giant science lab. At present, there are no permanent inhabitants, and only 40 people, nearly all scientists, stay there temporarily. There's been an Antarctic base there since 1948. I think it's now called the Australian Antarctic Division. But back to some unfortunate events. In 1810, by accident, Hasselborough carried rats on his ships. Deliberately, he brought rabbits to feed his workers. Later, cats were introduced to kill the rats, but the cats bred like rabbits. By the 1950s, there were huge rat, cat, and rabbit populations. It is believed the cats killed 60,000 seabirds each year. From 1985 to 2000, more than 2,500 cats were destroyed by park staff. Rabbits don't eat birds, but they do cause erosion. Landslides, caused by rabbits, have reduced the area where birds make their nests. In 2007, a 7-year plan to rid the island of rabbits was put into action. So, what areas might your research proposals cover? Well, the geology of Macquarie Island is unique. Seismology is another possibility. There are also meteorological and magnetic stations for weather reporting. There's been a long-term study on rising temperatures collected by these stations, which has been fundamental in our understanding of global warming. Animal life is abundant. More than 80,000 elephant seals call this place home. There are flocks of rare birds, including 6 penguin and 4 albatross species. In fact, it's estimated that 3.5 million seabirds breed on Macquarie Island each year. Studying animal populations might be worthwhile. But the big money these days is in pest control. 24 million Australian dollars, to be precise, are going towards this, so you'd have to be crazy not to get in on the act. What about the island's flora? Plants share an affinity with those of southern New Zealand rather than mainland Australia. Yet, due to the bitter wind, none grows more than 1 metre high, and woody plants are absent. If you're curious about mosses or bushes, then this could be the place for you. Anyway, whether you're into weather patterns, earthquakes, seals, birds, or strange plants, scientific research on Macquarie Island certainly sounds exciting. Research one specific area this week, and in tutorials next week, we'll look at how to write up a research proposal and what its budget might be.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more videos.